2020 should have ended Remington's rifle business for good. Bankruptcy, a shuttered century-old factory in Ilion, New York, and one legendary bolt action nearly lost forever. Instead, it came back as RemArms, reborn inside a brand new factory in LaGrange, Georgia. But that same collapse quietly ended production on one of these 5 legends completely, for good, back in 2020. Out of literally hundreds of models built since 1816, only 5 walked away with their reputation fully intact. If deep firearms history is your kind of rabbit hole, smash that like button and subscribe right now, because today we are ranking the 5 Remington hunting rifles that refuse to fade in 2026. Before there was a Model 700, before there was a Model 740, there was a machine so strange that shooters at the turn of the century could barely believe what they were watching. Picture this: a hunter shoulders his rifle, pulls the trigger, and the entire barrel visibly recoils backward inside its own steel shroud. Not just the bolt, the whole barrel. That is the Remington Model 8. And understanding it means understanding where every auto-loading hunting rifle in America actually came from. The story starts with company president Marcellus Hartley, who in 1900 made a deal with the single greatest firearms mind of the era, John Moses Browning, fresh off a patent for a long recoil-operated shotgun. Remington rebranded that engineering into the Remington autoloading rifle in 1906, renamed Model 8 in 1911. The mechanism is genuinely wild by modern standards. On firing, the barrel and the rotating bolt stay locked together and travel backward as one unit, inside a fixed outer shroud, compressing a heavy recoil spring. Once that assembly hits the rear limit, the barrel spring releases and drives the barrel forward alone. The bolt stays parked by a latch. As the barrel separates and moves ahead, the bolt begins to unlock, extracting and ejecting the spent case. Only once the barrel is fully seated forward does the latch release the bolt, letting its own spring, hidden inside the stock, drive it forward to strip a fresh round from the fixed 5-round magazine, chamber it, and rotate back into lockup with the barrel. You can feel every one of those steps happen in your hands. It is loud, it is mechanical, and it is unlike anything on the market today. Remington backed this action with an exclusive rimless cartridge lineup, built to rival Winchester's rimmed lever gun ammunition, the .25, the .30, the .32, and most famously, the .35 Remington. A 200-grain round with genuinely devastating close-range performance that made the rifle a favorite in bear country and whitetail camps across North America. Here is where the legend layer gets interesting. That same power and rapid follow-up speed caught the attention of law enforcement during the Public Enemy era, when police were routinely outgunned by mobile bank robbery crews running automatic weapons. Legendary Texas Ranger Frank Hamer equipped his posse with Model 8 rifles, modified with extended 20-round magazines by the Peace Officers Equipment Company, for the 1934 ambush that brought down the Barrow Gang. It is one of the most documented pieces of firearms history tied to any Remington product, sporting use and law enforcement history side by side. In 1936, the design got a cosmetic refresh, a heavier pistol grip stock, and a new name, Model 81 Woodsmaster, adding the .300 Savage chambering before production ended in 1950. Total output landed around 80,000 Model 8s and 56,091 Model 81s combined. Now for the honest critique, because this rifle earns rank 5 and not higher for real reasons. The long recoil system is objectively obsolete. It is heavy, it is complicated to strip down, and that visible barrel travel means more moving mass, more felt mechanical jolt, and a learning curve most modern hunters simply do not want to deal with. You will not find factory production of these anymore, and parts support lives entirely in the collector and gunsmith world. But as a monument to Browning's engineering genius and the true dawn of the self-loading hunting rifle era, nothing else in the Remington lineup even comes close to matching its historical weight. When World War II ended, millions of veterans came home trained on the M1 Garand and the M1 carbine. These men were completely comfortable with gas-operated semi-automatics, and they wanted a sporting equivalent chambered for full-power hunting rounds like the .30-06 Springfield. The long recoil system of the Model 81 was, by comparison, expensive to build and mechanically behind the times for the higher pressure ammunition of the post-war era. Remington answered in 1955 with the Model 740 Woodsmaster. This rifle faced a genuinely difficult engineering problem. Unlike a military rifle tuned for one specific load, it had to reliably feed everything from light varmint rounds to 220-grain bear medicine, all with wildly different pressures, bullet shapes, and overall lengths. Remington's solution was a short-stroke gas piston system that tapped expanding gas from the barrel to drive a rotating bolt with dual locking lugs rearward. Marketed with the slogan, "Power-matic like a jet," the system spread recoil impulse over a longer duration, taming the .30-06 into something genuinely pleasant to shoot fast. The rifle handled like a premium sporting shotgun, delivering rapid follow-up shots on moving game through thick brush. The trade-off was a genuinely finicky gas system and a capstan breech ring nut that made the 740 a headache for the average hunter to service at home. Remington addressed that in 1960 with the Model 742, switching to a standard hex nut for barrel removal and reshaping the feed lips and extractor hook for smoother loading. Even so, the 742 carried a reputation as a temperamental rifle. Neglect the chamber and gas port, or worse, over-lubricate it before it freezes solid in cold weather, and it jams hard. That earned it the unfair but sticky nickname Jam-O-Matic among critics. The real fix came in 1981 with the Model 7400, launched alongside the updated 7600 pump gun. Remington completely redesigned the gas block, changed the port angle, and moved to a 4-lug bolt design for smoother cycling and far better resistance to carbon fouling. Reliability finally caught up to the concept. Here is the sensory truth that numbers cannot capture. For countless working-class families across mid-century America, a scratched, faded 742 or 7400, chambered in .30-06, was never just a tool. It represents thousands of miles walked through dark Appalachian timber, and it is often handed down from grandfather to father to son, tied to decades of venison that put food on the table. That emotional weight is genuinely earned, and it is why this rifle line sits at rank 4 instead of lower. Reliability issues in the early versions are real, but the platform's cultural roots run just as deep as its mechanical ones. Here is a question worth sitting with for a second. What happens when hunting itself changes faster than the rifles built for it? By the 1980s, hunting culture had shifted hard towards steep mountain country and backcountry chases, and Remington's engineers spotted a real gap in their own lineup. The Model 700, for all its legend, is not a light rifle. Loaded with a scope, it typically runs 7.5 to 9 pounds. Hunters climbing 5 miles of vertical terrain for elk or mountain goat needed something else entirely. The answer, arriving in 1983, was the Model 7, and this is not simply a Model 700 with a shorter barrel bolted on. The receiver is machined a full half-inch shorter than a standard short-action Model 700, and when paired with an 18.5-inch slim profile barrel, the whole rifle comes in 2 3/8 inches shorter overall. Strip away that length and mass, and you land at a bare weight of just 6 to 6.5 pounds depending on stock material. That is an enormous reduction, and it produces a rifle that swings and points with the same snappy, intuitive speed as a dedicated upland shotgun. You can strap a Model 7 to a pack for a brutal 5-mile vertical climb after black bear or moose and never feel like the rifle itself is the thing slowing you down. all while keeping the same dual-locking lug strength needed to safely handle high-pressure ammunition. The true magic, though, is what happens when you pair this platform with the 7mm .08 Remington cartridge, introduced commercially in 1980, just 3 years before the Model 7 itself appeared. The 708 is essentially a .308 Winchester case, neck down to grip a highly aerodynamic 284-inch diameter bullet. Fire a 140-grain load, and you get outstanding sectional density and ballistic efficiency, holding a flat trajectory out past 400 yards, with energy on par with the .308 Winchester, but with noticeably softer felt recoil. Even inside that shortened 18.5-inch barrel, the 708 keeps performing. Ballistic testing shows the 140-grain bullet still leaving the muzzle around 2,700 to 2,780 feet per second, a velocity loss of barely 100 feet per second compared to a full 22-inch barrel. Combine a genuinely lightweight rifle, mild recoil around 18 foot-pounds, and deep penetrating ballistics, and you get an undefeated champion for young hunters, alpine trekkers, and anyone stalking deep timber on foot. In 2026, the Model 7 keeps evolving, right alongside modern suppressor-friendly and tactical hunting trends. You will find versions running Quiu Vias camouflage synthetic stocks and threaded muzzles. And there is even a 300 AAC blackout chambering, 16-inch barrel, 1-in-7 twist, originally built to Advanced Armament Corporation specifications. Purpose-built for quiet subsonic hunting and low-noise pest control in heavy brush. The one real limitation here is range. This is a short-action mountain rifle built for the 708 and similar cartridges, not a long-range Magnum platform, but for what it is engineered to do, almost nothing else in the Remington catalog moves this well. Before you write off pump-action hunting rifles as a relic, consider this. There is exactly one place in America where a legendary tracker put more whitetail on the ground with a pump gun than most hunters manage in a lifetime with anything else. That place is the deep cedar swamps and dark timber of Vermont, and that man is Larry Benoit. While the open plains of the American West rewarded flat-shooting bolt-action rifles, the thick understory and snow-covered thickets of the Northeast demanded something completely different. Rapid follow-up shots, true ambidextrous cycling, and total reliability in freezing conditions. Remington's centerfire pump action line traces back to engineer John Pedersen's Model 14 from 1913, which used a spiral fluted tubular magazine to safely run pointed Spitzer bullets without chain fire risk. By the late 1940s, though, ammunition had outgrown that design, and Chief Engineer L.R. Crittenden based a new rifle on the Model 1148 shotgun receiver to handle the length and pressure of the .30-06 Springfield. The result, released in 1952, was the Model 760 Game Master. The 760 introduced a detachable box magazine and a rotating multi-lug bolt that locks directly into a barrel extension, giving it strength on par with a bolt-action rifle. Because all the locking pressure sits at that barrel extension, the receiver itself could be built from lighter material, and critically, the barrel floats completely free of the receiver, giving this pump gun surprisingly serious inherent accuracy. In 1981, Remington overhauled the design into the Model 7600, simplifying the bolt head from 19 small interrupted thread-locking lugs down to just 4 larger ones, cheaper to machine, smoother to cycle, and far less prone to jamming from field debris. The action bars were reinforced too, preventing binding under rapid-fire cycling. Here is the engineering detail hunters love most. The control layout of the 760 and 7600 mirrors the legendary Remington 870 pump shotgun, almost exactly cross-bolt safety, behind the trigger guard, action release up front. A hunter who grew up wing shooting with an 870 can pick up a 760 in deer camp and cycle it from pure muscle memory. No relearning required. That ergonomic familiarity makes the rifle point and reload fast without ever coming off the shoulder. Which brings us back to Larry Benoit. Benoit and his sons tracked massive buck deer for miles through deep snow entirely on foot, and they depended on the Model 760 and later the 7600, almost always in 30-06 Springfield, topped with peep sights or low-power scopes. When you are constantly moving, heart rate elevated, wearing thick gloves, and your only shot opportunity is a fleeting glimpse through spruce branches, a bolt action forces you to break your cheek weld and lose your sight picture to run the bolt. A pump gun lets your support hand cycle the action while the rifle stays locked on your shoulder and your eye never leaves the target. In 1999, Remington honored this with a limited edition Larry Benoit commemorative 30-06 carbine. The 7600 earned another nickname entirely on its own merit. In Pennsylvania, where hunting law bans semi-automatic rifles, it became known as the Pennsylvania Automatic for how fast a skilled hand could cycle it. Production officially ended in 2020, and today, original 7600s command serious money on the used market, hunted down by deep wood specialists who understand that no modern platform truly replicates this exact blend of speed, balance, and firepower. If there is one honest knock against this rifle, it is availability. You will not find a new one on a dealer shelf in 2026. Only well-cared-for used guns holding their value hard. Every serious conversation about the American hunting rifle has to begin here, because nothing else earned the right to be called the undisputed patriarch of the bolt-action sporting rifle. Introduced in 1962, the Model 700 is the product of post-war engineering ambition, led by legendary design engineer Merle Mike Walker. Walker was himself an elite bench rest competition shooter, and he set out to bring the razor-tight tolerances of precision target shooting into a rifle Remington could actually mass-produce. The true genius of the Model 700 lives in its manufacturing method. Before this rifle and its predecessors, the Model 721 and 722, bolt-action receivers were typically milled from flat-forged steel blocks, slow, labor-intensive, and expensive. Walker instead designed the 700's receiver to be turned from a cylindrical bar of military-grade steel on a lathe rather than a milling machine. That single decision slashed production costs while automatically improving receiver concentricity, guaranteeing near-perfect alignment between the bolt, the chamber, and the bore. The economics of manufacturing accidentally produced a stiffer, truer, more accurate structure, cause and effect, working in the rifle's favor from day one. The locking system itself uses two symmetrical forward locking lugs and a deeply recessed bolt face that fully encloses the case head. Combined with the barrel and receiver, this creates the famous three rings of steel concept wrapping around the cartridge head, giving the action serious strength against the pressure of modern Magnum loads. Walker's trigger geometry also achieved a lock time, the gap between trigger pull and firing pin strike, of just 3.2 milliseconds. That speed shrinks the window where shooter-induced wobble can throw off the shot, meaningfully improving real-world field accuracy. Since its debut, the Model 700 has been offered in an almost overwhelming range of configurations. The do-everything special-purpose synthetic, with its tough plastic stock, the weather-beaten XCR for extreme conditions, and the elegant Classic Deluxe with a satin walnut stock and deep polished blued steel. In 2026, under RemArms, the platform is going through a genuine renaissance. New production out of the LaGrange facility, including the advanced Alpha 1 Hunter, represents a fully modern take on a classic action. One of the biggest developments of this new era is the partnership between RemArms and trigger specialist Timney. To finally put to rest decades of criticism aimed at Walker's original trigger design, every new production Model 700 built in 2026 now ships standard with a factory-installed Timney trigger. The Impact 700 unit, fitted on standard models, delivers a crisp, non-adjustable pull between 3 and 4 pounds, using Timney's sealed locking design for total reliability. The premium Alpha 1 variant steps up to the Elite Hunter straight trigger, delivering match-grade performance right out of the box. The Model 700 long range shows just how relevant this platform remains for modern, extended distance hunting. Built around high ballistic coefficient rounds like the 7mm PRC, it pairs an HS precision stock with integrated aluminum bedding blocks and a heavy contour barrel cut with 5R rifling. That 5R profile, with its sloped lands and odd number of grooves, reduces bullet deformation and fouling buildup, improving aerodynamic stability and stretching out barrel maintenance intervals. Beyond the factory guns themselves, the Model 700 spawned the largest aftermarket ecosystem in the entire firearms industry. Hunters routinely pull old 700 actions and drop them into modern chassis systems like the Wux Furiosa or MDT, eliminating any flex from original synthetic stocks. The Wux Furiosa chassis, for example, blends walnut inlays with an aerospace-grade aluminum skeleton, tightening groups from around 0.970 MOA down to just 0.357 MOA at 100 yards. That kind of modular potential ensures the Model 700 remains the benchmark every other bolt-action rifle gets measured against. If there is any honest criticism at rank 1, it is only that the base action, before any aftermarket work, is not the lightest or the fastest handling option on this list. That title belongs to the Model 7. But for pure accuracy potential, mechanical pedigree, and sheer staying power across more than 6 decades, the Model 700 earns its crown without argument. 5 rifles. 5 completely different reasons for lasting this long. Which one would you actually trust in your own gun safe? Drop your pick in the comments, and if this deep dive into Remington's history was worth your time, hit subscribe for more legendary rifle breakdowns.